Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave. Wish you a very happy and healthy start to your Tuesday morning over here from a very dark Helsinki, Finland. We got a lot to talk about today as Bitcoin Boolahs once again in control, or are they, is the real question. I want to follow up from yesterday's analysis as we did get that nice continuation of the upside that we spoke about, and I want to follow up on a few announcements as well, which I'll talk about right now. And perhaps I could stop yelling in your ear as well, but sorry. Someone has to have fun during all this bullshit here, man. Anyways, the Krown trading app, which is going to be 100% free for the base application of it, is going to be coming out. We're aiming for this Friday, actually. So keep the fingers crossed, because you know that just about anything can go wrong when it comes to programming. But I am told that Friday, very strong likelihood that we'll be able to release the first version of it with the first screen, and then each and every passing week after that, we're going to be adding more and more and more. That also means that all of the indicators are back online. In fact, actually, they're already ready. They can be found in the link below at crowntrading.net. And that means that the jewel's there too. And definitely, I always want to be very, 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 very straightforward with those indicators. They are not magic pills. They are only as good as the user. And if you do not have your risk management, position management, and profit taking already in place, well, I would not look for them to be the magic pill on top of that. Now, if you do already have those in place, then yes, it could be a good fit. You'll have to watch the videos that explain how to use them as well. But I always want to be very, 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 very straightforward, because if you aren't already profitable, they can only do so much, and it only takes a few bad trades for yourself to for yourself to fuck yourself. Anyways, that sounded like I was saying go fuck yourself. I didn't mean that. I mean, go have a nice day. anyways, what else do I want to say? I think this is about it, man. I want to get into the actual analysis right now, as we have a lot to follow from yesterday. So wishing you the best of the best, and also the happiest as well. My God, man, a little bit too loud in your ear today. I apologize about that, but let's press that button. And there she is, Bitcoin on the weekly. Actually, let's go to a daily right here. Actually, you know what? Today, let's start off very, very low. Let's start off on the lower time frames, because I do want to follow up on yesterday's price action. So I was looking for a little bit of a pullback, a little bit more than what we got yesterday, unfortunately. So I didn't really get in any long positions myself. I did play a position on the other side. However, the big thing with yesterday and the big focus on yesterday's video was, as long as the 4 hour does not break the 20-minute exponential moving average, can't really get too damn bearish here. And at the same point in time, as long as we hold it, well, this becomes more and more constructive, creating a series of higher lows. And what do you know? Crazy move up. And Bitcoin looking pretty damn all right here. Anyways, we are starting to hit some pretty macro areas, the same areas that we've been speaking about for quite some time. And I want to follow up, and I actually want to explain this just a little bit further, because we did get that critical close above 8,200 on lower time frames, which then initiated the next measure move up, or not necessarily measure move, but the next move up into this blue box territory right here. As you can see, we've hit it just about to the T, and Bitcoin backing off initially, which is to be expected. But actually, contrary to what a lot of the people are saying, I wouldn't necessarily be bearish based off this just yet. In fact, looking at the lower time frames, it is showing that we actually still have plenty of momentum to be gained here. Looking at 4 hour Stokes there, having a fresh cross up, rejecting the bearish control zone. We see 3 hour Stokes, same thing as well. A little bit more advanced within that. 2 hour Stokes already up there, and hourly Stokes getting a little bit tired here. So, what does this tell me? It tells me that we'd likely go a little bit sideways within this region, but as long as we don't see any closes, even on as low of a time frame as an hourly below, let's call it 8,400, I do believe that Bitcoin's actually going to trade a little bit sideways here and then give another test to the upside. And, if we actually extrapolate this a little bit further into the higher time frames, you'll see that Bitcoin does have some more room to go here. Higher time frames look fine. Daily has not only that great cross of the yellow 21 and the green 55, which if you're in the technical analysis program, you know the relevancy of that and why and how to trade it. But we also do see a nice structure just being broken to the upside. So, nice ascending triangle right here. And I do believe that, while lower time frames probably go a little bit sideways, maybe trade a little bit down, we probably do actually trade a little bit higher, ultimately speaking, as Bitcoin does have the next major area of interest to me right around about 8,800-ish region. So give or take, create a range there about $50 both ways. And I actually do think that Bitcoin probably does give a little bit of an attempt towards it. Just based upon this. We also do see that daily RSI is more or less healthy, getting back into the bullish control zone after getting rejected a couple weeks prior, or sorry, not a couple weeks, but 1 week ago, which to me is actually strength, because if we were going to play out hidden bearish divergence between this point and this point, we would have expected it to completely collapse from that area. We would have not expected us to well, essentially maintain above the 200 exponential moving average on the daily and come back down below 7,800. But that is why I've been bullish as long as we are, sorry, I should say medium term bullish and short term, I suppose, as well, bullish as long as we're above 7,800. It's as simple as this, man. Higher lows. We have an uptrend on a daily, and at the end of the day, I mean, we haven't had an uptrend on the daily since technically October, but this was not really an uptrend here. This was just a massive girthy green dildo in your face. Really, the last uptrend that we had was in the second quarter of 2019 right here. So this is a change of behavior, especially on the medium-term timeframes. Now, of course, doesn't change the macro, which we'll get into a little bit later. But of course, as always, if you want the long-term analysis, definitely go check out the long-term analysis playlist, which I upload to every Sunday. Anyways, so to me, yes, this is resiliency here, which tells me that we're probably going to want to stay in the bullish control zone for a while, and we also have a change of behavior. Bitcoin's really been kicked out of this area ever since June, which was, well, the highs at 14,000 essentially. So this is, this is more or less good, and this is kind of the sort of setup that we were expecting for the last week or so if we actually are going to see Bitcoin take that next leg up, which we're getting right now. So not bad. And let's actually go over this cross for a second here between the yellow 21 and the green 55. I don't know if I have a 50 or a 55 on there, whatever. It's going to be about the same thing anyways. The last time that we had the bullish cross on this was actually leading us out of our last slump in what was this, early 2019 in March. We got the bullish cross right here. Boom, takes us all the way up to, well, from about 3,600 to 14,000. We get the bearish cross somewhere in the mid 10,000s, and then boom, all the way down the whole way through. We did not get the bullish cross right here, of course, and that is the beauty of it. Keeps you in those trades, and that's why we were bearish below 10.3. And now that we've gotten the bullish cross on this, I'm actually bullish, especially as long as we're above on a daily above 8,200, this last little breakout point, which looks good to me. It looks like a nice base, and barring any sort of a catastrophic closure below 8,200 on a daily today, I'm going to maintain my medium-term bullishness here, which can, obviously evolve into long-term bullishness if and only if we do the one thing that Bitcoin hasn't done in a very long time. It's going to be a great YouTube title for some clickbait bullshit there. I apologize about that, but hey, we get you in here, and then we waterboard you with information, and then the clickbait title, it's like it never happened. Anyways, as long as Bitcoin's still not in an uptrend on a weekly, hard for me to be macro bullish. Of course, I always want to put the spotlight on this because, well, at the end of the day, trading Bitcoin for the, since the genesis has been as simple as that. And any sort of reversal that's confirmed on a weekly, meaning both, in this case, a higher high and a higher low, has, gotten those major moves of price action every fucking time since, since the genesis. Again, it's not going to get you the ultimate high right here or the ultimate low right here, but it'll get you that lower high right here. It'll get you the breakout right here where the trend actually does reverse around. So in this current price action, where would we have a confirmed reversal on a weekly? Well, got to make a higher high. The problem is our last high is coming in right around about 9,500. So, as long as Bitcoin's below there, it does make it difficult to be bullish on it, macro. But because of Bitcoin's perceived bullishness in the medium-term timeframes and semi-higher timeframes, this is going to be a possibility. And it does look to me like we have some momentum to be gained here. I mean, focusing on the weekly for a second, we did, I believe, we closed a hair above, about $10 above the weekly 21 exponential moving average. On Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which was a pretty damn big deal. And now we actually have continuation on top of that and using the 21 to kind of rally off of, creating a base. And now it has lost its negative slope, which is really, really important. So what I'm going to do here now, and this is a little bit more long-term than what I really wanted to focus on today, but that's fine. We can just go back throughout the history of time and just really put your mind's eye on that yellow 20 exponential moving average on the weekly. Anytime that we have essentially been in an uptrend, Bitcoin bases off the 21 and maintains above the 21 as a 21 maintains a positive slope. Key points there. And anytime that we've been in a downtrend, you do see a few closes here and there above the 21, but you don't see any opens and closes above the 21. And the 21 exponential moving average, again, that yellow moving average, maintains a negative slope the whole way through. And if you want to take it one step further, just look at the red 10 simple as well. And that's kind of like a secondary confirming factor. In this case, actually, we see the 21 getting a positive slope while the 10 simple still kind of maintaining its negative slope. However, usually you're going to see it the other way around. So this is this is kind of a big deal to me. Not only that, but momentum oscillators are showing a change of behavior here as well. We do see that weekly Stokes are pointed upwards and onwards, getting back above that nice little stutter step that we had during our last failed rally in November, early November. And not only that, but we do see we are still riding the same trend line that's been holding the weekly Stokes up ever since the lows in February of 2019, which was quite literally this higher low right here. And then the last cross to the upside that we saw coming off that same trend line was this guy right here on this failed rally. And then the one that we just saw happen a few weeks ago is coming off right here. So I do think that Bitcoin is in kind of a nice posturing right here for, to actually make an attempt at the macro. I do think that is a possibility, as I've been saying for the past couple weeks. Not only that, but we do see that weekly RSI is having a change of behavior here as well. We have rejected the bearish control zone, and more importantly, we've retaken the exponential on it. Now, I do think that Bitcoin's likely to come back down and test that exponential at some point, but I would look for that to be the next base of support. And more importantly, we can go back on over here and create a zone, especially in the neutral zone, anywhere around this 55 read right here. And I'm actually running default for my RSI period, just if you want to recreate this yourself and confirm yourself, which I suggest doing. Don't take my word for it. But overall, we do see that during 2018, and this is pretty much all of 2018 from January, which basically got this high right here. We lived below this zone on the RSI, and it wasn't until we broke back above right on over here in March, by the way, where Bitcoin reversed. And same thing on the way down right on over here in September, middle of September, right before the breakdown from about 10.3. That was again where we got bearish because the weekly trend was confirmed down. And now once again we're actually gonna have a chance to break above there. It looks like, as this is overall constructive, and again, to me, it's a big deal that we're trading once again above the exponential on it. Now, that's a little bit more finicky of a way of looking at things, but if Bitcoin can kind of just consolidate and go a little bit sideways within this region between, let's call it like 48 and 55, I would actually be looking for that as I would be looking for that as a next major base in Bitcoin price action. So something to keep an eye on, but that's not happening anytime soon. We really have to wait like probably another month or two for that to really show itself. But for right now, things are setting up quite well. We do also see, what else do we see? Let's go over here and check out CMEs. Here's how CMEs are operating. CMEs looking all right. Same sort of deal here. Still needs to get above about 95, 9600 for us to be overall macro bullish. I'm not seeing anything really different about CMEs that I don't already see on spot price action. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. Maybe if we go down to a daily, we'll have something more interesting here. Again, using the 200 exponential moving average as a nice base. But other than that, really not, we're really not seeing anything different here that already hasn't been said. However, there is one thing. The 200 moving average right here on CMEs, which is coming in right hot at 86.28, which we basically traded a little bit above today, but right now finding our resistance upon in the same area that rejected us right here in 7th of January. And you could say back on over here as well. Once we broke to the downside, Bitcoin was kind of in the slumpy territory. So what I would say from the next sort of perspective, what are Bitcoin Bullahs looking to regain? Well, I'd say a daily total close, especially above the 200 simple, and especially if we can get an open and close above the 200 simple on CMEs, that's going to set us up for, at the very least, a run to about 88, 8900, I'd imagine. And we'll probably actually see spot price action test the 200 simple at that point, which is all the way here at about 9100 actually. So a lot of things lining up here, and I do think that Bitcoin is going to get another leg up, to put it bluntly. Not only that, but while Bitcoin on CMEs is kind of grinding out that 200 simple, which I'm sure a lot of people are trying to sell, to me, whenever I see something like this, where Bitcoin or any asset for that matter is testing this thing multiple times, that's more likely to break. Each and every time that you test it, gets more and more weak as sellers kind of use up their power, and then, well, usually after 3 or 4 times, it becomes very, very likely to break. Speaking of likelihood, let's go check out expected moves with regards to historical volatility percentile. And what do we see here? So let's get off a 4 hours, go to a daily. And it's obviously a bullish posturing as well. In fact, we do see the top side of the first standard deviation, not the second or the third, but literally the first standard deviation is showing 8750-ish region, which I actually do think that we probably do test around there, maybe 8800, something like that. I think that's the next big region for Bitcoin to have like a short-term, medium-term sideways action from. And by the same token, more importantly, looking at this right here, the bottom side of the first standard deviation, which is at about 80, it's about at 8300, a little bit bit below 8,300. But more importantly, why is that a big deal? Well, that would suggest that it's pretty, it's less than a 16% chance to trade below there or close below there on today's daily dildo. Which, what does that mean for the macro? Well, going back to what we started off this conversation with, as long as Bitcoin's closing dailies above essentially like 8,300 or even like 8,200, it is still medium term bullish. I mean, this is a breakout, and that is your breakout zone. It's also consistent with the 200 exponential average, which is actually below that area, which is literally actually below that area. So I do think that this bodes well for Bitcoin right here, and I do think that Bitcoin's likely gonna set up another leg, probably somewhere around 8,800ish region, give or take a few bucks. And again, the probabilities are unlikely. Again, a less than 60% chance, I would say, and actually technically even less than that, because realistically the point of failure is 8,200, and the bottom side of the first deviation is 8,273. So below 8,273 today on a closure is less than 60% chance to happen. The unfortunate point is that we don't actually have probabilities between the first and second standard deviation, which, well, I mean we kind of like guess them out, but if we were to kind of take the midpoint of this, which is around where that failure point would be, it'd be probably, if you had to like guess, maybe like 10%, 10% chance to happen today. So unlikely to happen today, which tells me that we likely get continuation, sometime later, or maybe not continuation today, but I would be looking for Bitcoin to essentially set up a base here and then give it another try higher, later this week, something like that. It looks okay. What else we have? What about the 2-day? 2-day, very strong. We spoke about this yesterday as well. We said, hey, on the 2-day, if Bitcoin takes out the prior dildo's high at 82.86 on stamp, very likely that we're going to head into that 85-8600ish region. There you go. Again, I'm not saying I fear that when I say something like that, it's going to come off as arrogant or like an "I told you so" type thing. I'll never be that person. That's not my intention to be. But my intention is to show you that over time, the efficacy of this way of trading. Simple enough, man. Simple enough if you let it be simple enough. Like, people are always trying to do like the fucking forward somersault, backwards 360 flip, thinking that that's what real trading is, and that's the only way to make money. It has to be super complicated. No, man. I mean, you can literally just trade straight up price structure, and plenty of people have made shit tons of fortunes just doing that, and it's quite simple. 2-day RSI is more or less fine. I'm sure people are going to call this hidden bearish divergence here. It is not. It is continuation as it stands. There's no bearish divergence as it stands right now, especially on the higher time frames, or hidden bearish divergence for that matter. You can't even have fucking bearish divergence here, because we're literally, bearish divergence would be on fucking new lows, not on a new high, not on an uptrend right now on the lower term time frames. 2-day Stokes still headed north, getting a little bit tired there. So, we probably do find a high in like the upper 8,000s, I should say. And also just want to show that the 2-day Joule buy signal down around here, which was this one was a little bit better. This was basically on the low, actually, and then this was a continuation, like hodl your long signal right here a couple of weeks ago. It looks like still showing a little bit of momentum, but getting a little bit more mature there. So I do think that the easy portion of that trade's over, although I do think that we also get a little bit more here, but the bulk of that move probably mostly used up on that. 3-day, same sort of thing. 3-day Stokes headed upwards and onwards. We are back in the bullish control zone, confirmed for the first time literally since July 2019. So this is a change of behavior coming in all the way back on from here, over here, looking good. 3-day RSI, fine as well. I like it. It's constructive. We're breaking back above and maintaining above this critical breakdown point, which was, again, that like kind of 55 zone right here, which you do see on the 3-day actually holds a little bit more of relevancy and validity towards general price action. We were living the whole time in 2018, we were living below this region and using it to kind of sell off from all the way from January 2018 to basically March 2019. So that's the whole fucking bear market right there. And then we broke back down below there in July once again. And now we're actually pointing our heads above. So, to me, that this is all indicative of this move actually really having some juice behind it, and probably testing a little bit higher overall. Again, I think that we've had a pretty damn nice move for today. It's already been about $500, which is close to a 10% move, I'd imagine. Just doing some bad mental math, but a little bit below 10%. Close enough, man. I know someone in the comments can be like, "Krown, you idiot! You fucking moron! Don't you know a $500 move is 8%. It's like, all right, great. Congratulations. Congrats. Anyways, 12-hour Stoics crossing back up, defending the bullish control zone. All these things are looking okay here. I would say that 12-hour probably does get a pullback, maybe down to like 8,400 to 8,350-ish region. But to me, I'd be looking for a bounce there. So as the lower time frames start to use up their momentum a little bit more and more, I would say that maybe later today, early tomorrow, something like that, we probably do see a pullback somewhere around like 8,400, give or take about $50, and I'll be looking for that to actually bounce there and get picked up. And I'm essentially short-term, medium-term bullish, and looking to be a buyer as long as we're essentially above, especially 8,300. But even 8,200 on a daily total close is significant. So yeah, 12-hour RSI looking fine here, maintaining the bullish control zone. I like that, resilient. We didn't even really look at the daily Stokes pointed back upwards. They're going to get tired there as well pretty soon. But during strong trending moves, you shouldn't be trusting your momentum oscillators anyways. And then yeah, we've kind of already covered up the lower time frames here. I'm sure someone's already calling this fucking bearish divergence here. It's not. We need to confirm first a high, and typically you don't see divergence kind of form like this anyways. It typically comes up more close towards the critical zone, and again, we don't even have a topping deal. We don't even have a confirmed high here anyways, so I don't see the relevancy of that. I'm sure some people are calling this some sort of a ascending triangle, and I do believe it is actually. It's just a lot easier to be seen on a daily, right? And if we do look at this on a daily, we can come up with, well, I guess, hold on, let's go to this chart. It's a little bit less fucked up. If we are looking at this as an ascending triangle, and I just do like a very rudimentary measure move here, it would be suggesting that actually we've pretty much hit. Yeah, well, it's a little bit higher. The measure moves a little bit higher, somewhere around 8,700 actually, which funnily enough is directly in line with the long-term downtrend resistance coming in all the way from the highs at 14,000, which got our highs right here, right here, right here, right here, and perhaps even once again right here. So yeah, I do think that we get another leg up continuation, and anywhere between 8,750 and 8,800, and then probably a nice pullback there, and then reassess. I'm positionless at the current moment in time. I'll probably play another position somewhere right around there. Or the 200 simple, I mean, on the daily is still an area of interest as well. If things get really crazy, if the liquidation engine starts getting going, 9,100 is within the cards. But I do want to kind of scale back all the hopium and all the bullium for a second here, because there is something big to be aware of as far as the macro goes. Even though I do think that Bitcoin has a legitimate chance to buck the long-term macro trend, here's a big thing for me. So we had a very similar setup over here on major moving averages. That's what we have over here. Bitcoin gets rejected by the 200 simple, this white moving average, once, twice, boom, over here, same sort of thing. Then Bitcoin is getting the death cross right here between the green and the purple, same thing right here, green and purple, crossing the downside. Then we get the cyan and the purple crossing right here, which is all lower, at that point we have all lower periods trading below higher periods, same thing right here. Bitcoin's trending to the downside as all major moving averages have negative slopes soon after that. And we are trending essentially as long as we are closing below the daily 20-minute moving average. And then Bitcoin puts in a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders right here. Well, very similar thing over here. Not necessarily an inverted head and shoulders, but a descending broadening wedge. And once Bitcoin regains a 21, massive rally. What do we see over here? Bitcoin regains a 21, massive rally all the way to the 200 simple right here, that white moving average that's looming ever so presently overhead. Not only that, but we actually do see that Bitcoin had a very similar downtrend coming in right here, right? And that aligned pretty much perfectly with the 200 simple. I know it's a little bit convoluted once again, but you see the same thing over here, massive downtrend, and it's almost in line with the 200 simple, a little bit less so. If we were to do this by dildo bodies, I believe it probably would be right in line. In fact, actually it is. Nice. All right, there we go. So I do think that it's, again, do you use dildo bodies or dildo or wicks? I prefer bodies as they're a little bit more precise, but you can do it both ways, whichever way works better for you, whichever way speaks better to you. But I do believe that body is going to be more precise, at least in my experience, especially with traditional marks actually. Anyways, so my point is here is that I am, I am hesitant to get like macro bullish until we really do see sustained opens and closes above the 200 simple on the daily, and preferably a weekly close above our last prior high at about 9,500. Problem is that the 200 simple on the daily is even much below the weekly pivot point of 9,500. It's again a little bit below 9,100 right now. So Bitcoin still has a lot of work to do here, even though I do think that it's going to have a legitimate chance. But at the end of the day, until it actually does that, I still have to be macro bearish, unfortunately. well, unfortunately for the Bulas out there, but my opinion on that is subject to change as long as we get that price action. But you have to start, imagining what are the oscillators going to look like if we do reach into that region. They're probably going to get pretty damn tired. So regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, if Bitcoin does trade up to the upper 8,000s, lower 9,000s, probably going to be looking for at the very least a short-term, medium-term pullback, and then the sort of implications from that are going to be very telling into the macro. Does Bitcoin set in a higher low on the weekly, or do we reject and move back down below? Let's call it like 8,200. 8,200 is a big area now, and then I'd be bearish once again. But to give the bulls their due diligence, which I think is very important to do here. We should go look at the hash ribbons, which I've been bringing these up not as frequently as maybe I should. I like to talk about them on more long-term analysis, but as far as they're doing right now, and again, if you want the deep dive into this, definitely go check out the the long-term analysis playlist, which I upload to every weekend. Let me just make sure that I am recording. Nice. All right, fucking great, man. Wow, 25-minute video already. Microphone's working, so that's good to check on. Jesus Christ. Anyways, so yeah, go check out the long-term analysis plays if you want the deep dive on this, but I'll briefly kind of mark it off right here. Anytime that we've gotten a buy signal on this, we have seen Bitcoin essentially put in the low beforehand. So anytime that we've gotten a buy signal on this, the low beforehand, Bitcoin never trades below on a daily total closing basis. Bitcoin can return to that level. Doesn't necessarily mean that the momentum to the upside is beginning immediately after that. In fact, plenty of cases where it's not the case, but the low is essentially in. And what do we have over here? We have a buy signal right here. And I would say that, if history is going to repeat itself, or if history is anything to go off of, which we do have 9 iterations here and working on the 10th, which is plenty. It's really, really good, actually, history. It would say that we are not going to be closing below 6,600 on a daily closing basis. And the low is in. And while Bitcoin might come back down even as low as like $7,000, I'd actually be looking to be a buyer around there, historically speaking. And of course, these things are never like 100% guaranteed to work out, but it offers up a nice edge, and that's all you need as a trader. Okay, cool. All right, awesome, great. Let's see what volatility is looking like on the lower time frames. I imagine it's probably expanding once again, and indeed it is. In fact, hourly volatility was the key marker of yesterday, telling us that the move was coming, sometime in like the next 12-hour session from yesterday's video, which pretty much on the money right there. So volatility, the fucking key. Absolutely love it. And perhaps the only thing that I really have for timing, and to me, it looks like we're still expanding here. We're actually not even redlining right now, which tells me that Bitcoin likely does. Well, it looks like it's flagging out right here. We're probably gonna strike a little bit higher. The move ain't done just yet, even on the lower term time frame. So that's what it's saying right now. And I do think that when we if we were to see that red line, we probably get somewhere around like 87, 8,800, something like that. Unless if Bitcoin just has the fucking Judas red dildo to hell that brings us back below, let's call it like 8,300. I do think that expansion continues to the upside. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So what else do we want to look at? Let's go look at, do we want to do the rounds right now? Oh, let's go look at the Bitcoin VWAP ratio right here. We do have a change of behavior here. However, still not the critical one that I'm looking for. We do have the blue actually finally above the, what do I want to call this? Like the midpoint regression. If you were to run your, run a nice line through here, which actually let's go through this right now. Okay. So, man, do I want to do a deep dive on this right now, or is this video already fucking long? Video's already pretty fucking long. I want to quickly do this by myself, and then perhaps on this weekend's video, I'll talk a little bit more at length with it. But anytime that we've gotten the bear signal in this with the purple below, the pink below the regression, that has been good enough to get the major massive pullbacks in Bitcoin's history. But is just getting the blue back above that area good enough to force it back out of that slump? Well, we do have a good example right here. Is that the first initial? Yes, we do have a good example right here for the low. Okay. We do not have a good example right here. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily always work. We do have a good example right here. Yeah, but the purple and pink actually tell you first. So no, I'd have to let go of that idea. It's wrong, or at least it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. So yeah. Anyways, let's go over and check out traditional markets really quick. I think it's really important to go check them out because, as we've been showing, there is significant correlations between traditional market and Bitcoin land. And what do we see here? Holy fuck! Another new all-time high? But crypto Twitter told me, crypto Twitter fucking told me that this shit is a hedge for Bitcoin. What the fuck, man? Why are they both moving up at the same time? I need a new narrative. It can't be war, because now that the war is over, or the war didn't even start, and Bitcoin's still going up and traditional market's still going up, then what the fuck? What the fuck? Maybe there's a strong correlation between traditional markets and Bitcoin land, because Bitcoin isn't a fucking hedge. And maybe, just fucking maybe, it's the same people moving around money in the traditional markets into Bitcoin and doing some sort of arbitrage amongst all of these different assets. In fact, I've been speaking with my friend who's a higher up at a quant firm in Chicago. They actually have some pretty damn good data that does show that there is a lot of similarities between what's going on here, and that's essentially the thesis right now. Anyways, yeah, man. Unfortunately, fucking crazy. But the world economic system collapsing doesn't benefit anyone. Holy shit! Holy fuck! I just love it when the assholes are like, man, I can't wait for this war to start because my gold coins and my Bitcoin's going to go to the moon. No, not really. We see a very strong correlation actually between traditional markets and Bitcoin land. We can show it right here. Okay, look at this once again. I don't even need to fucking do this again. Everyone already knows. Correlation coefficient is 0.5. Not super strong, not super weak, but we do see a strong correlation over the whole, going all the way back to the genesis, essentially. So that, more positive than negative on the whole. And again, we need to look at a monthly for traditional markets because that gets the macro there, not the weekly, not the daily. And R squared, more importantly, is a 0.67. That's really fucking high. We could take this a step further and look at gold and show that actually Bitcoin and gold have less of a correlation than Bitcoin and traditional markets. Bitcoin and gold on the correlation coefficient is decently high. It's about the same as what we see on traditional markets there. But the revealing factor is looking at R squared, which just a regression telling you how much of that actually fits. So your R squared is like measuring the efficacy of your correlation coefficient for that asset. And what do you see here? It's a 0.32. That's nothing. It's not nothing, but it's certainly not. Traditional markets is double that, right? And you very rarely even see it that high to begin with. So that's significant to me. And I would say that basically, well, if you're looking for gold to be a hedge, because people always say that gold's a hedge, what happened in fucking 2008? When the whole world economic system collapsed. What they don't want you to know. I think it's a conspiracy against all the fucking Peter Schiff gold bugs and like Bitcoin anarchists of the world that they want you to believe something like this happens. It's a great hedge, bro. You can just lose your money like maybe 1% slower. It's like fucking great. Anyways. All right, cool. I'm probably just pissing a shit ton of people off. Well, you know what? If that pisses you off, it probably should piss you off because, well, it's annoying. I know my voice sounds like a raspy lesbian, but anyways, let's look at some forex right now. Sorry, I didn't even really talk about traditional markets. Traditional markets are bullish as fuck. Continue to be bullish as fuck. We've been bullish as fuck on them, and we can once again move up the point of we can once again move up the point of failure to not just what was it, like 324 before, but now 325 and a half. As long as we're above 325 and a half, we're still trending very, very hard to the upside. And I wouldn't even consider like bearishness until below 320 and a half. This is just getting insane. This is great. This is fucking great. People look at this and they want to say like, but the traditional markets are at all-time highs. You know what that means? Bearish. It's like, really think about that statement. Really fucking think about that statement. As a trader, this is what you want to see. Traditional markets went through like a year and a half consolidation between January 2018 all the way to October 2019. Almost 2-year consolidation, really. Or is that 2 years? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Almost there. And just broke out, a couple months ago. So bearish, right? Oh, it's fucking great, man. To see the cognitive dissonance between all the people who just, for whatever reason, hate it. Great, man. Fucking great. Dollar yen, bullish, as we said, likely to break out to the upside, and I believe that we are seeing that right now, man. I do believe that it's going to work its way all the way up here, at least in the medium term to like 110.5, but longer term probably up here to the blue box between 111 and 111.5. Pound yen. Not following as much. I can't get bullish on pound yen until it actually moves back above 144.1 on a daily. Until that happens, I actually do still stick with what I said, that this is potentially a top being put in. Weekly looks okay though. To be quite honest, I actually do think that it does move up here, and we see the dollar moving up. So one at the pound shitcoin as well. What about euro dollar moving up as well? Still really struggling with this one. I suppose I have to stick with what I've been saying. I can't get too bearish on, or I'm not bearish on this until we break below 111 on a weekly total closing basis. There are certainly warning signals in place right here. I do think that short term, as we said the last couple of days, is probably going to pop back up to like 111.5, and then we're almost there. Difficult read there. I don't feel as confident. I don't feel as confident on that one. What else do we have? Other than that, I think that covers just about everything. We can briefly look at the other top two shitcoins. Mr. Buterol. Mr. Buterol probably does make a run towards 153.5. Mrs. Litecoin hitting up to almost towards our $55-$56 target right here. I do think that it's going to make it up there, looking very constructive and breaking the long-term downtrend. And that's about all the shitcoins that I can handle for right now. We can briefly look at the Bitcoin dominance for a second here. Oh, I forgot to also mention that the Bitcoin difficulty is adjusting today, which is also kind of one of the reasons for bullishness, I suppose. If you're looking for a fundamental perspective, weekly I'd still be bullish on. I'm bullish on it as long as we're above last week's low, essentially 69%. Great number as well. So anyways, I'll go back on over to Bitcoin and wrap up the most important things to be aware of. I would be, I do think that we get a pullback, probably back down to the bottom side of this blue box territory right here, around 8,400, maybe even as low as about 8,350. And I'll actually, in fact, move this up now. And what we can do here is we can flip this guy around and say, as long as we're above this, I do believe that Bitcoin is short-term, medium-term bullish, even though I do think that we probably pull backs and test around this region. And as long as we don't break it, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to work its way up later this week towards about 8,800-ish region towards this, put in another blue box here. This guy right here and test, and this will be considered a test of the overall downtrend resistance. Again, between about 8,750 and 8,850, we'll call it. And that's where things get more interesting. So if Bitcoin does break below, let's call it like 8,350 on a 4-hour total closure, I would look for a retracement all the way down, probably to 8,000 even, and things are going to look a lot different on top of that. But, the main thing here is to keep in mind the points of failure. There's never like 100% way of doing things. Trading is always a statistical setup, so we're just going off of statistics to kind of form nice little technical analysis edges, and then, basically the major advantage of knowing technical analysis is knowing when you're wrong. As doomy as that sounds, maybe this measure move is more accurate like this, perhaps as well, coming in from that last high. In fact, I think that is right. Anyways, so yeah, man, I do think that we trade a little bit higher here. Probably get a pull like a medium time frame pullback somewhere in the upper 8,000s, and then come back and reassess after that. And as long as Bitcoin is closing 4-hour deltas above 8,350, I do believe that's it's fine. Even though I do think that we pull back into that region, probably. I don't know. Do we pull back into that region? Lower time frames are getting pretty red here, but maybe not. Actually, maybe not. This is still looking fine. I don't have a strong opinion on that, man. My strong opinions are as long as 8,350 holds, fine, and we do see that on a daily total closing basis. Probabilities are certainly on in line of that. I mean, it is 68% chance likely to happen in between that range, so fine. By the same token, if we do get an hourly close, or even if we just move above the last prior high at about 8,600, we'll call it, I would look for extension up to the next blue box territory most likely. So yeah, that's it for right now. Overall, Bitcoin looking good here. Bitcoin looking nice and strong and meaty. And with that said, I'll be back on Twitch later, man. Forgot to make that announcement. There we go. Fucking hell, man. Yeah, I'll be back on Twitch later, doing some live streaming there. However, analysis and trading is a little bit more in the background because, well, there's not always something to be done, man. And realistically, things don't really change all that often. But when trades happen, I do take them there, and it's pretty fun to do. So I'll be back on somewhere around like 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time, and doing some gaming action as well, man. So feel free to join on in. Really, though, I do want to be quite stringent with the no shitcoins type shit thing, man. It's not the focus, man. I really want to get away from that, if anything. So yeah, man, I'd like to wish everyone well. I'd like to wish everyone the best, and not just all the men out there, but also the women and other gender pronouns that exist in this world. Whatever the fuck you consider yourself, I'm wishing you a happy one right now. Take care, and until next time.